The thrill of travel, wild adventure, and big machines. On this episode of Mavericks Unlimited, they risk their lives for the adrenaline kick. Roofers. We visit some of them in the roofer stronghold, Moscow. And together with them, we climb onto a 200-meter-high antenna mast, just for the kick of it and a good photograph. What's more, death is just around the corner. We highlight one of the world's most dangerous professions, alligator hunting in Louisiana's marsh districts. Also, a man who tries to hold out in an ice cube for 1 hour without protective clothing at around 0 degrees Celsius. Now on Mavericks Unlimited. We're in the Russian capital, Moscow. The city is the unofficial center of the so-called roofing scene. We have an appointment with a photographer who himself is a star in the roofing scene. Marat and his friends are all around 20 years old and have been climbing roofs in Moscow for a couple of years. Thanks to these images, Marat is one of the best-known roofers in the world today. He's 22 and a law student. He knows exactly what he wants.
Quite boring to obey the rules of the society, and I think it may be interesting to break your psychological barrier and to do something you never did, and it's really interesting.
Aisha is also drawn to the roofs. More and more women are fascinated by the thrill.
When I firstly become to the roof, it's so interesting day in my life, when my life has changed very much.
What counts is the special kick they get out of stretching the bounds of legality together. It's not about what clothes they wear or what kind of music they listen to.
There are hipsters, there are like rappers, maybe there are anywhere, just normal guys who dress casually. No one cares, we just enjoy the views.
After theory lessons in the cafe, practice follows. The roofers are going to climb onto the roof of a building and show us just how they manage to get on people's roofs. Their destination, a typical Moscow building. Not very high, but the only option in this kind of bad weather. Climbing higher roofs would be too slippery and dangerous. The roofers have many little tricks to remain undetected.
So if you have something in your pockets, just release it.
Okay.
Because we will penetrate inside through the small hole.
Moscow's inhabitants have become very watchful over the last years.
So it's typical for the Russian doors to be protected with a keypad and to open the door and to face the challenge. We have to be prepared, so I have the special key which may open the door. I will check it. So yeah, it's open.
The electric general keys are very sought after in roofer circles and are passed on underhand. Marat doesn't want to disclose his sources. After the lift, the next challenge is awaiting them. A grid is blocking the ascent. The only way to reach the roof is by slipping through a small hole. Other roofers have sawn into the staircase. Even the slightest sound could alarm the inhabitants. And that's when it happens. As Aisha is crawling through the hole, a tenant raises an alarm.
Штопор, а вдруг что-то будет на нашу голову?
Меня можешь обыскать.
Зачем я тебя? А как?
The roofers flee upwards. They would never be able to make it past the tenant fast enough through the narrow hole. She is now threatening Marat with the police. He is still down below. The roof is their only escape route. The other three can only hope she hasn't noticed that they're already up on the roof. Locked up on a roof with no fire escape. That's one of the risks these young Russian roofers just love to take. In the meantime, Marat and Aisha have reached another rooftop through the neighboring staircase, but they discover they've been cut off from the others. At least they find time to take a good look around the area, and it's obvious why Moscow, of all cities, is the capital of the roofer community.
Actually, this is like an encyclopedia of Moscow roofing, because we have been to that tower, to almost whole Moscow city. We've been to several houses that way that you can see, and here stands this Gothic Minister of Foreign Affairs that was never conquered, and it is still awaiting for its hero.
Apart from many high roofs with a great view, Moscow has more important things on offer for roofers.
We do not have tough and severe legislation which punish the roofers. And you know the phrase crazy Russians. It's a part of our mentality to be a little bit mad.
It may be crazy, but it's not a political issue. That's why the government leaves the roofers alone, as opposed to regime-critical movements such as Pussy Riot. As long as Marat and Dima don't destroy private property, they can count on being treated lightly when climbing onto roofs. While the two leave the roof through the attic, the others sneak through the staircase, after having had to wait on the roof for 2 long hours. The next morning, they climb up even higher. They show us the entry test for all Russian roofers. Dima and his friends pick us up at the city center early in the morning. Destination Electrostop. It's a suburb of Moscow. In the scene, it stands for euphoria and reckless trials of courage. Marat has experienced quite a few things up here.
It was dangerous and I think difficult, but he did it for an amazing photo. He had to be extremely careful because he may fall down, because you see the sledge is very thin, and one wrong step and he will fall.
The antenna masts are visible from far away. From the parking lot, it's another half hour on foot through a forest. Trespassing is actually strictly forbidden, but only a single watchman watches over the whole forest and doesn't pose any real threat. The tower is in fact an old antenna mast, built in 1930 under the regime of the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin and shut down many years ago. Since then, it's been rusting away. Climbing is strictly forbidden, and it's dangerous too. Roofing is life-threatening. That's why it's absolutely not meant to be copied. Marat goes first. The experienced roofer has made the climb 5 times already. To deter tower tourists, the first 15 meters of ladder have been removed. The cold, rusty steel makes it difficult for the roofers. To get all the way up, you have to climb 200 meters. Each step is a small pull-up. Whoever doesn't have the right technique and well-trained arms will soon reach their limit. They can save energy by using their feet to push off, but it's dangerous in the narrow ladder shaft.
We'll use our legs, like do it stronger.
Ow! My knee! Fuck!
It takes trained roofers like Marat and Dima about half an hour to get to the top. Not such a good idea if you're afraid of heights.
Oh God.
Every 20 meters, there's a little steel platform to take a rest. But from its fringes, it goes down vertically. Danger is all around here. With each step, it gets colder and windier. The roofers leave everyday life behind and concentrate on the more important things, such as survival. 215 meters above the Russian birch forest, on top of a delicate antenna mast, in icy cold and strong winds, a very special moment for the roofers.
It means totally happiness. That's what it is. And freedom. Just endless freedom. I am here by myself alone with the sky. I feel this great space. That's what it is.
A great view and a huge rush of adrenaline for the roofers. But up here, even the tiniest misstep can have deadly consequences. Off we go to Henderson in southern Louisiana. The wetlands, the greatest marsh district of the USA, ruled by alligators. Not hundreds, not thousands, but 2 million. And the number is increasing. One man is trying to stop this from happening, James Reggie. He's not the youngest anymore, but at the age of 70, he's still as determined as ever. A hunting pioneer, over the past 50 years, James has dedicated his life to one purpose: hunting alligators. At more than 30 degrees Celsius and sticky humidity, why does a man of his age still do this to himself?
Since I've been doing this, it's you know, I've never wanted to do nothing else.
Of course, James also hunts to make money, but for the 70-year-old, it's not just a job like any other. It's a mission. To prevent alligators from taking over and penetrating further and further inland, right into people's front gardens and bedrooms, which happens every year. James places dozens of alligator traps in the swamps. First, the veteran hangs the cow's stomach bait with a rope on a hook. He then ties everything to a tree. Almost done. All that's needed now is to stick the bamboo pole into the soft swamp, casually hang the rope over it, and hope James's wife won't notice the missing clothes pegs. He uses them to secure everything. Done. James's construction is simple, but tried and tested.
The white ribbon is to make them think it's a white bird roosting in the trees, just to get their attention. An alligator, that's not very hard for an alligator to reach up and grab. Most of the time, whenever they grab it, it's whatever's in it is between their jaws.
Including the hook. The meat quickly turns into an odorant alligator snack at 30 degrees Celsius. Normally, one is hooked within 24 hours. Now it's time for the warhorse to check on yesterday's traps. And if all goes well, that also means killing the alligator before it kills him. After 48 years of service, hunting legend James pretty much knows what he's doing. But sometimes, timing seems to be a problem for him, though. His angry catch also notices the little collision at the riverbank. Reggie and the alligator, face to face. Could be a big specimen, so the veteran rolls out his heavy artillery. But that needs to be loaded into the magazine first.
All right, let's play, sport.
James wants to pull the line to the surface along with the catch. He knows the alligator remains still for a long time and then strikes as quick as a flash. James is left to his reflexes and firepower. A shot at close range. Brutal, but his only chance considering the extremely thick skull.
I pull them up and try to shoot them and kill them as humanely as possible and quickly as possible. I don't play with them.
The first man versus alligator fight is over. In the 21st century, right in the middle of the USA, this looks like an archaic relic of the Wild West. Rough and brutal. But men like James say it's the only way to control the situation. Even now, he needs to be on his guard, check if the alligator's extremities make a last twitch, and then haul it into the boat. More than 200 kilograms, which stretch James to his limits once again. 4 weeks of hunting season are almost over, and in moments like these, James can feel every single slain alligator in his bones. Now to business. The veteran marks the end of the tail with a badge, more or less Louisiana's seal of quality. The state's hunting quota, about 40,000 alligators, which is exactly the number of badges that go to the landowners, $4 apiece. They entrust their exterminator, and James has a whopping 600 assignments.
We got alligators in places that people never dreamed. The UL College, I've caught 3 of them on the campus. It's just on the highways, especially during the breeding season, the big alligators will start moving around.
Alligator hunting, a permanent struggle for ecological balance. James's job is similar to that of a ranger's, to keep the stock at an agreeable level, for the good of man and alligator. At the beginning of the 60s, poachers almost exterminated the alligators. At the last moment, the government intervened. Today, unauthorized hunters pay a fine of hundreds of dollars and may even be sentenced to prison. De facto, James hasn't yet earned a single penny today. The state grants the license, the swamp owners the mandate, but neither of them pays money. James makes a turnover only by selling the animals, and the Alligator Slaughterhouse wants the meat as fresh as possible.
Everything's got to be accounted for. At the end of the year, every one of these tags got to be accounted for. And if they're not, they want to know where they're at. And if I drop one in the water, I got to go get it.
At first sight, the alligator business seems strange, but it is supervised by the state and absolutely legal. The butchers measure the exact value, not by weight or appearance, but by length. 1 meter is worth $76 for James. So for a 4-meter alligator, he receives around $300. The most valuable part, the alligator's skin.
They're going to skin them, fillet the meat, pack it up, and send it to wherever it goes to where it's going to be sold. Shoes, belts, wallets, whatever.
Belts worth $1,000 or more. Each season is $1 million business. Without it, the swamp probably wouldn't exist anymore. At daybreak, the catch-up race in the wetlands begins. Beneath the water surface hides a much sought-after hidden treasure, mineral oil. But in order to approach it, everything would have to be dried out. The $1 million revenues would be gone, for the state too. That's probably the only reason why the swamp still exists. James is back on the hunt. There are supposed to be some alligators here too. Time for the by now familiar docking maneuver.
All right, sweetheart, let's dance.
Dancing with a Mississippi alligator is a dance with the second strongest jaw in the world. It comes right after the white shark's jaw. Bite force, a ton per square centimeter. No bone could withstand this. But regardless of that, James is in a hurry.
It's just easy to handle. It's dangerous because he got mad.
And despite hitting a bullseye, it still is. The pistol's penetrating power was too weak for the massive skull. The second bullet penetrates. But again, as is almost always the case, the danger is not over yet. James strictly sticks to his rules. First, press the jaw together with all your strength. Then, turn it around as fast as possible. Even though the reptile is dead, the danger of a last attack is always present. Almost as if the alligator is able to come back to life.
He's a reptile, just like a lizard or a frog or anything else. Actually, he's not going to bite you. Just the nerves are going to, is what's going to hurt.
James has experienced all of this firsthand. That's why he stays away for as long as possible. He has enough scars already, he says. But catches, on the other hand, he can never get enough of.
I mean, I'm 70 years old, and you know, people ask me when am I going to retire, and why retire?
Apparently, James wants to risk his life for many more years in the vastness of Louisiana's marsh districts. From the USA, we move on to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Here, we meet Wim Hof. He seems to be able to deal well with the cold. How else could he be able to stand barefoot in the snow? What's his secret?
Die besondere Eigenschaft, die ich habe, ist nur Trainierung. Jeder hat es.
That's it? Through training alone, a human being is able to resist the cold. Is that really possible? We'll see. We've prepared an experiment. On Amsterdam's beachfront, temperatures are around 0 degrees. We want to find out if Wim Hof is able to stand sub-zero temperatures in the ice. Impossible from a medical point of view, but Wim Hof wants to prove to us he is able to perform this superhuman act at any time without any supporting means. We need 600 kilos of ice cubes for this, enough to cover a man in ice from head to toe. Wim Hof will be standing in this plexiglass container covered in ice up to his throat. The thermometer verifies our ice is real ice. It's getting serious for Wim, and in this case, that means really cold. At 0 degrees outside temperature, the Iceman sets about his business. He's not allowed to wear protective clothing. There is no heating, nothing to warm him. Wim steps into the ice container without any kind of preparation.
Adrenalin ist dort. Normal. Ruhe, ich habe Kontrolle. Beherrschung. Maar ook een beetje Spaß. Muss da auch sein.
Aber keine Angst.
Angst nicht. Angst ist schon hinterlassen worden.
In order to convince us, Wim must resist the ice for at least an hour. It takes 10 minutes to fill the container. Our clock only starts ticking after the container has been filled up. Wim is wearing no warming clothes. His body is directly exposed to the cold.
Gut. Nein? Das ist gut so.
The first few minutes in the ice, Wim shows no signs of quivering or any cold-related reactions. The Iceman doesn't show any sign of weakness even after 7 minutes. A normal person would have passed out long ago, but the Dutchman stays cool.
Am Anfang ist es schwieriger. Wenn einmal alles voll ist, akklimatisiere ich gut und da ist eine Konstante und dann ist es nicht mehr schwierig. Auf diesem Moment, ich glaube eine Viertelstunde haben wir schon gehabt, so etwas, ich fühle mich warm.
A normal person would be just short of a collapse. Not so for Wim Hof. He remains standing up in the icy cold, seemingly without any problems. 40 minutes have passed. No frostbite or signs of weakness from Wim. He is fully conscious. Proof A short chat with passers-by. No problem. Impressive.
He must be a hero. Because it's cold outside. It's 0 degrees. And he stands there for more than 1 hour. For more than 1 hour, isn't it?
The record is 1 hour 43 minutes.
Oh. And we have all clothes because it's cold. So he's a hero, don't you think so?
Wim has proven his extraordinary abilities. After 1 hour, we decide to end the experiment. We have seen enough. The Dutchman has resisted the cold. The sheer superhuman experiment was an easy exercise for him, although it's not so easy for him to climb out of the cube. The plexiglass compresses the ice, and only after the panels have been removed can Wim push the ice aside. He doesn't even have to warm himself up. He just puts his clothes back on, as if nothing has happened. After staying 1 hour in the ice, wearing almost no clothes. Mavericks Unlimited.